Hey y'all, in today's video I have 5 amazing Sunday dinner ideas. All of these recipes in today's video are southern, simple, and just plain old delicious. And make sure you stay around to the end. I have a no-bake dessert that's perfect for any time, but especially a Sunday dinner. This is chicken and cheddar bay biscuit bake. Let me show you how to make it. All right, first things first. We're gonna preheat our oven all the way to 450. We're getting the oven super hot because with this recipe, everything's pretty much gonna be done in our skillet, but after we put that biscuit topping on top, all we're gonna be doing is cooking those biscuits. By the way, you could make this a 1-pan meal if you have a really big or just a large oven-safe skillet. I'm gonna just make our filling in my skillet and then put it in a casserole dish. All right, to our pan, we're gonna add 1 medium onion that we diced up earlier. We're also gonna add about 1/2 cup of diced carrot. Stir, and we're just gonna let this saute for about 5 minutes until these onions and carrots start to soften up just slightly. I'm adding in about 2 cloves of minced garlic. We're also going to sprinkle in 1/4 cup of all-purpose flour. We also have 1/2 tablespoon of poultry seasoning. Lots of good flavors in there. We're just going to give this a stir and just let this cook for just another minute. We're basically just cooking out this raw flour taste. It doesn't take long, but it does make a difference.
Smells so good. Yes,
smells like Thanksgiving. All right, next we're gonna add in about 2 pounds of cubed chicken. We just cubed this up into bite-sized pieces. I like to keep them up pretty small for this. We're also going in with 3 cups of chicken broth. We're also gonna add in 1 cup of milk, and we're just gonna bring this up to a simmer. This is a little bit different than my normal type of filling, especially with chicken. We're just gonna cook the chicken in with all these good seasonings and our broth and our milk. It's just gonna create a really tender chicken inside our biscuit bake filling. One more ingredient I almost forgot to add. This is about 1/2 cup of frozen peas. And of course, these will thaw out and begin to cook. We're gonna get started on our cheddar bay biscuit topping. And like I said, this comes from my grandma. She always made cheddar bay biscuits. I've shared that recipe with y'all before, but it must start with this southern biscuit mix. It is the Formula L. And what kind of makes it so special, this is a just add water mix if you're just looking for regular biscuits. But I want to show y'all, for the ones who haven't seen, it actually has little, they call them golden flakes, but they're like little flakes of butter in your mix, already ready to go. So I already have about 3 1/4 cup of that biscuit mix in my bowl here. And to that, we're gonna sprinkle in, this is about, how much cheese is this?
It's a heart measured 1/2 cup.
1/2 cup measured with a heart, so it's probably a little bit more than 1/2 cup of freshly shredded sharp cheddar cheese. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and mix our cheese in with our flour, just until we have everything nice and evenly incorporated in there before we add in our buttermilk. Because I remember, even from when I was little, after you add the buttermilk in and you begin to stir, you only want to stir as few times as possible, so that way your biscuits are not overmixed. That's one thing I remember specifically that my grandma told me.
That makes it like fluffy still.
Well, you don't want to overmix your biscuits because then they'll just be tough. So literally, y'all can see how many stirs I'm doing. It's like 1, 2, 3, 4. I feel like that owl with the Tootsie Pops. How many stirs does it take to get the perfect biscuit? All right, 1 more and we're gonna be good. All right, now we're carefully gonna bring over our mixture, and I'm just gonna transfer it into my 9x13 here. All right, so I have my biscuit dough over here on the side, and I'm just gonna scoop biscuits. These are drop biscuits. I'm just using my little ice cream scoop, and we're just gonna place a few biscuits right on top. All right, depending on how big you do your biscuits, this recipe does about 12 biscuits. I have just a little bit of that biscuit dough in there, but no worries. All I'll do is just bake these up on a pan, and we'll have some extra cheddar bay biscuits to sop up all of that delicious chicken stew in the bottom. All right, so we already preheated the oven to 450. This is going in there for just about 10 to 15 minutes until our biscuits are slightly golden brown. All right, while our chicken bake is finishing baking up, we're gonna make a little garlic butter topping to go on top of those biscuits. It's gonna send this over the top. I just have 1 stick of butter melted here. To that, I'm just adding half a teaspoon of garlic powder, just a small sprinkle of black pepper, half a teaspoon of salt, and I would also add in some chopped chive as well, or you can do some dried parsley. So let's just give this a mix and set this to the side. Y'all, look how good this looks. Oh my goodness. And we ain't done yet. Lastly, I just have our garlic butter up here, and we're just gonna brush the biscuits. Oh my goodness. This is so good. This is pure comfort food. Oh my goodness, y'all. These things look delicious. I'm so excited. I say that about every meal because I am so excited about every meal that we cook. Every recipe. Look at that filling in there.
It looks amazing.
Yes, it sure does. We are going to be cooking out of my cookbook again this Sunday. This is my cookbook, Repeat Worthy Dinners. Always linked down below. Look how good these look, y'all. They're super tender on the inside, super crispy on the outside. They're so easy to make as well. We're going to marinate them in some buttermilk and some spices and some hot sauce. And then here in a little bit, we're going to fry them up. It's going to be delicious. Let's get started. So for this recipe, I like to use chicken breast. You can use the chicken tenderloins as well. Just remove that little tenderloin piece. But we're gonna trim our chicken breast first, and then we're obviously gonna make them into strips, really however big you want. I like to do about an inch thick little strips. And this is what we're gonna get marinating. So first, we're just gonna add a little bit of salt, about 1/4 teaspoon, half a teaspoon of black pepper, half a teaspoon of garlic powder, about half a teaspoon of onion powder, half a teaspoon of paprika, and then also about half a teaspoon of Italian seasoning. We're just gonna sprinkle some in. Next, we're gonna add about 10 little dashes of hot sauce. No, that was more than 10 already. Really how much ever you need. We really like this hot sauce. And then last but not least, we're gonna add about 1.5 cups of buttermilk. Get them nice and coated. Grab my little spurtle, and you can do this in, a gallon-sized baggie or a bowl. But since we're gonna be making ours up today, they're not gonna be sitting overnight. I'm just gonna do it in a bowl and get it covered. But you do wanna stir everything to get it nice incorporated, get all of these flavors all over our chicken tenders. You do want to let it marinate for at least a couple hours, if not overnight. I'll check back in with y'all here in just a little bit. So to fry up our chicken tenders, I like to use canola oil. You can really use any type of oil you prefer to fry them up. I'm also going to be using my Dutch oven. I just find that it holds heat really well and it's perfect for frying. So we're going to add in some oil to the bottom of the Dutch oven and get that heating up. And while that's doing so, let's go ahead and get our breading together for those tenders. All right, so for our breading for our chicken tenders, we're just gonna start with about 1 cup of just all-purpose flour. Then we're gonna add just a couple tablespoons of cornstarch. I love how cornstarch kind of makes your breading, just has that crispy factor to it. So as far as the seasonings we're going to use for our breading, pretty much the same flavors we already have going on in there. I'm going to add a little bit of garlic powder. And that's the thing with frying chicken. You want to season every step. So season your marinade, then season your breading. We're also going to add a little bit of paprika. A lot of paprika. I had a comment the other day that said your little bit and my little bit are 2 different things. So maybe that's right, I don't know. I'm gonna add a pinch of salt in here. All right, I have a tray over here just to place them after they get breaded. So of course, next we're just gonna bring out our chicken tenders. Kind of shake off the excess a little bit. Into the flour they go. This is technically my wet hand, my dry hand. Pat down that flour, shake off that excess flour, and then I'm just gonna bring them over here to my tray. I'm gonna do this until we've got pretty much all of our chicken tenders breaded up. Our oil is at about 400, but it will drop a few degrees when we start adding our chicken tenders. So I'm carefully gonna add chicken tenders right into our oil. And we don't want to crowd our pot. So I'm only going to add in about 3 or 4 at a time. Add in one more little one. And these are going to take probably about 5 to 7 minutes to be completely done. Once our chicken tenders reach 165, I'm just going to bring them over here to this little tray with a wired rack on top, and I just have my oven on the lowest warm setting, and I just pop this in there to keep them warm until they're all done. I'll just pop this in the oven until I'm ready for the next batch. Today I'm going to share with you 2 ways to make this recipe. The first one is going to be in the oven, which happens to be my favorite way to do it. But when I'm short on time through the week, I'm gonna show you a quick stovetop way as well. So make sure you stay tuned. All right, so we're gonna start over here on the stovetop. We're gonna make the glaze that's gonna go on the green beans. All right, to the saucepan, we're just gonna add 1 stick of butter. Let that start melting. Next, we're gonna add 1 cup of brown sugar. I'm gonna go ahead and turn that down to low and give it a stir so that butter doesn't burn. Gonna continue to melt down. Next to this, we're gonna add 1/2 cup of soy sauce. And by the way, I'm using the reduced sodium soy sauce. That is perfect. And you can also use like a brown sugar substitute, such as the Splenda or any one that you choose. It still works really great in this recipe. And lastly, we're gonna add 1 teaspoon of garlic powder. We're gonna continue to stir until all of this is melted down, until that butter is melted down as well as that brown sugar. Next, I have my baking dish over here. This is about a 9 by 13. And then I have my 4 cans of green beans that I drain. And I like to rinse mine a time or 2. So we're just gonna dump our 4 cans of green beans into our dish. Next, I'm just gonna bring over that sauce that we made. And then we're just gonna pour it right over top. Get it all coated. The green beans are pretty much coated at this point, but I like to go ahead and just kind of gently toss mine around just a little bit because we want that really yummy sauce all over our green beans. All right, so lastly, I just have some bacon back here. This is pretty thin, so I'm gonna do about 6 slices, but anywhere between 3 and 6 is good. Just depends on your personal preference. We really like bacon, so we're gonna add a good bit. And I'm just slicing it into about a little less than 1 inch wide little pieces, just little bite-sized pieces. I've seen similar recipes where people just lay the bacon on in strips. Matter of fact, I think that was the original recipe back when I was a teenager, but I just prefer it to have, you know, little bite-sized pieces so you get a little bite in every, or you get a little piece in every bite. Next, you're just gonna lay on the bacon pieces all over top of your green beans. This reminds me of my baked bean recipe. Let me know if y'all have tried that. I'll probably share it again closer to summer. All right, let's get this thing loaded up with bacon. And another thing too, y'all, I actually think that the less expensive bacon works better in this recipe. It tends to be a little bit more thin. So when we bake it up in the oven, it's just gonna get that much more crispy. All right, y'all, got all of our bacon pieces on there. I already have my oven preheated to 350, and this just goes in there for about 30 minutes or until that bacon is as crispy as you want it. After 30 minutes, if it needs a little bit more time, start with 5 more and go from there. While our baked version of green beans is in the oven, here is that easy stovetop version. And we're just gonna start slicing up our bacon the same way we did before. We're gonna saute that until it's almost crispy. Or you can use the packaged bacon bits, works just the same. Alrighty, so I got all my bacon crisp over here. So I'm just using the same pot that I cooked up that bacon. I'm gonna add, that's a little bit more than a tablespoon of butter. I'm not gonna use quite as much butter because like I said, I'm doing this through the week. They don't have to be quite as rich, if you know what I mean. So for our brown sugar, instead of adding a whole cup, I'm just gonna add probably about 3 or 4 tablespoons. We'll do 4. Then for my garlic powder, this is what I do, y'all. Just sprinkle a little bit in. I don't even measure it. Through the week, we're not even making time for that. Then for my soy sauce, we normally use about half a cup. We're probably gonna use about 1/4 of a cup. Right, and same thing, we'll just get that butter and brown sugar melted down. So we're just gonna add 2 cans this time of green beans. Just gonna bring over that bacon, dump that in the pot, and kind of toss them around a little bit. All right, so I added about half a can of water. We're just gonna toss everything around. I'm gonna put these on about medium heat, pop a lid on them, and these will only take about 20 minutes and they're gonna be just as delicious and super easy. All right, I went ahead and turned off my heat. These stovetop green beans are pretty much done. Look how delicious these look. These have so much flavor and these are perfect really for any day. Super easy to throw together and super good. Alrighty, y'all, our green beans are out of the oven. Just look at how delicious these look. These things are packed with so much flavor. They're of course a little bit sweet, buttery, and salty, and a little bit smoky from that bacon on top. These are so delicious. Like I said, this is an oldie but a goodie recipe. If you've tried this, comment down below and let us know. Let everybody in the comments know. And let me know if you think you're gonna give it a try. All right, while he is slicing our potatoes, we're gonna go ahead and start the cheese sauce. So to a saucepan, I'm just gonna add some butter. Of course, we'll have the recipe either typed out or linked down below. We're also gonna whisk in 3 tablespoons of flour and half a teaspoon of salt. Give it a minute just to get that raw flour taste cooked down, cooked out. Next, going in our cheese sauce, I have about 2 cups of whole milk. Just gonna pour it in, continue to whisk. All right, so next I just have my little baking dish. You can use an 8x8. I'm not sure what this is, but it's a smaller baking dish. Give it a little spray. So we're just gonna add a few potatoes and then a slice of onion, a little onion ring. A few more potatoes, slice of onion. Obviously, if you're not an onion fan, you might want to skip out on the onion, but this recipe will probably be just as good without it. I'm going to continue to do that until we have our whole baking dish filled up. All right, you can see our sauce is starting to thicken up, but we are making a cheese sauce, so we're gonna need some cheese. So right here we have 1.5 cups of cheese. This is just some sharp cheddar as well as some pepper jack. You can use really whatever kind of cheeses you want. Gruyere cheese would also be really, really good in this dish. We're just gonna dump that in, then stir. This will only take a couple minutes for that cheese to melt down. Most delicious little cheese sauce for our scalloped potatoes. All right, so before we add our sauce, I'm just gonna sprinkle with a little bit of seasoning. This is just the Kinder's, the blend, which is just salt, pepper, and garlic. Just add a little bit of that right on top of everything. Pour all that yummy cheese all over. Get it nice and coated all down in there. All right, so we're just gonna get this covered with full. I already have the oven preheated to 400, and these are gonna bake about 80 to 90 minutes until those potatoes have time to get nice and soft. Looks so good. These things look amazing. This is chicken and stuffing, stuffed shells, just a few ingredients, and I actually saw it on TikTok. I think you're gonna like it. Let's give it a try. All right, so we already boiled up some jumbo pasta shells earlier. You just boil those up according to your package directions, just maybe a minute less than al dente, because they are gonna continue to cook in the oven. And then also you wanna prepare a box of chicken stovetop stuffing mix, but just prepare it again according to package directions. And now we're gonna prepare our filling for our shells. All right, so in our bowl here, we have about 2 cups of cooked chicken, rotisserie chicken. I'm using canned chicken, y'all, because it's easy and I like it. And to that, we're gonna add 1 cup of sour cream. Now, the lady who I saw the recipe, she used Greek yogurt. I'm not a huge Greek yogurt fan, so sour cream is a perfect substitute. But of course, I'll have my recipe or my version, and I'll have her recipe down below as well. Next, we have our prepared stuffing mix, and we are just gonna get it in here with our chicken and sour cream. All right, now we're just gonna give everything a stir. All right, we are about all mixed together. All right, next, you're gonna grab a baking dish. I'm gonna use this oblong one. I might need another one, we'll see. Give it a little spray. All right, next, all we're gonna do is take each little pasta shell, put some of our chicken and stuffing mixture in here, a couple tablespoons, and we're gonna place it in the baking dish. I'm gonna do this until I've used up most of my stuffing. We'll see how many, or we'll see how much I can fit in here. All right, all of our shells are stuffed and in our dish, and now we're gonna make a little sauce to pour over top. The sauce for our shells is super simple. All we're gonna need is 2 cans of creamy chicken soup. And to that, we're just gonna add 1 can or about 1 cup of milk. I'm just gonna use 2% milk because that's what we always buy. And I just had mine on the stovetop. We're just gonna heat this up until everything's warm. But honestly, you could whisk these together and pop it in the microwave for a minute or 2, and it will be just as good. All right, our sauce is heated through. And Darren just kind of made a good point. He's like, you probably don't even have to heat the sauce up, but I don't know. The only reason I could think of is maybe so the shells don't quite have to cook as long in the oven, so they don't get overcooked. So your sauce is already warmed through, your chicken, everything's pretty much cooked, so they're only going in the oven for about 30 minutes. But anyway, let's pour our sauce right over top. All those shells nice and covered. And Darren actually tasted the filling already. He said it's so good. All right, lastly, last but not least, we're gonna just sprinkle on some sharp cheddar cheese.
How much cheese?
I have about 2 cups here, but y'all know, honey, measure with your heart, okay? However much cheese you want. All right, this is just going into an oven at 350 for just about 30 minutes till everything is nice and warm through and that cheese is melted. This is gonna be so good. It's gonna taste like a miniature Thanksgiving. I already know it. All right, y'all, we just pulled this out of the oven. Look how delicious it looks. I mean, seriously, this looks amazing. All right, let's plate a couple of these up, y'all. The lady who I got this idea from said, I'll take you back to grandma's house. Ooh, so I'm very excited. Alrighty, y'all, let's cut into one of these and let's give it a try. Nice and tender in there. See all that chicken and stuffing. That is so good. That is so good. Takes you back to grandma's house. That girl was right. This is so good. This is a definite fall, cold night. Need something cozy to warm your belly. This is a must try. So to this mixing bowl, I have 1 box of vanilla pudding mix and then 1 box of lemon pudding mix. We're gonna put those both in here. All right, now to those, we're just gonna add 1.5 cups of milk. And I'm using vanilla almond milk, the unsweetened kind. But any kind of milk will work. We're just gonna whisk all that together. All right, once your pudding mix gets thick like that, we're gonna add in some vanilla extract. Next, we're gonna add in 8 ounces of the frozen lemonade concentrate. Obviously, I picked this up from Walmart. This one is 12 ounces, so we're just gonna add about 3/4 of this. And this has been in my fridge for a couple days, thawing out. lemonade concentrate going in. All right, now we're just gonna whisk again. All right, next we're gonna add about 8 ounces of whipped topping. And I don't know if I've said, but this will actually make 2 pies. And now you just want to fold in your whipped topping. All right, so next I just have a pre-made graham cracker pie crust, and we're just gonna fill that right up. And like I said, this makes 2 pies, and I didn't realize that. So only about 1 crust. All right, there you go. Easy, no cook lemonade pie. This is gonna go into the fridge. It says overnight, but a few hours, or you can put it in the freezer. Alright y'all, I hope you enjoyed today's video and got some recipe ideas for your Sunday dinner or maybe a dessert. Leave me a lemon emoji down there in the comments if you stopped by today so I can say hello to you. If you're in the mood for seconds, there's another video right here on the screen. I'll meet you over there and I'll see y'all in the next one. Bye y'all.